Welcome, I'm Todd Raffel with ERE Media, and ERE.net is where to find us if you are watching this video somewhere and you want to find our site, ERE.net. And I'm here with Jody Ordioni. Jody is with Brandemics. It's a company in Midtown Manhattan. She's speaking at our conference, doing a really interesting session on branding next to March 29th to 30th in San Diego. So welcome, Jody, but today we're talking just about one thing, Twitter. And on Twitter, with recruiting on Twitter, it seems to be kind of all over the board when it comes to what I see recruiters and companies, recruiting departments tweeting about. A lot of companies seem to have like a main job feed on Twitter, and then individual recruiters in some cases are tweeting jobs, news, thoughts, commentary. But oftentimes that commentary seems to me to be geared toward peers in the recruiting field and recruiting news and whatnot, not so much to job candidates. So I'm not quite sure. I guess everyone's trying to figure it out. What are you sort of seeing recruiters tweeting about, Jody?
I think that's a very good phrase. Everybody is still trying to figure it out. And while that could be said about social media in general, it holds even more true for Twitter. Predominantly, what I see a lot of is companies just posting their job opportunities, which as a company like Brandemics, we specialize in branding. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a tremendous missed opportunity to actually promote the brand. So I see a lot of job opportunities being tweeted. I see, to your point, a lot of dialogue from recruiter to recruiter. And I also see a lot of job feeds that don't actually have jobs available at all, which is, I think, another missed opportunity. So it is, to your point, it's all across the board.
And you talked about dialogue. That's another thing that I think is interesting is that, we've had more than a dozen different breakout sessions at all of our different conferences now about social media, and it's almost a guarantee that at every session someone will say something about how social media needs to be social, not just media, which sounds good and I agree with it. However, when it comes to having a conversation on Twitter, I don't know how realistic that is. I mean, some of the conversations I hear or see are like, thank you for following me, see you at noon, call me soon. I don't know how well Twitter seems to really work for a conversation. It's sort of a weird conversation to tweet something and then wait for a tweet later that goes out to 2,000 people. And I don't know. It's a good idea. I like it. I'm just not sure how well Twitter works for a conversation.
Well, the thing about Twitter is that the conversations are happening in a lot of different ways. So while other kinds of social media, you can actually see the conversation in a blog, such as the ERE, you see comments, conversations happening below the fold. However, with Twitter, the conversations may in fact be happening offline, where if you're actually doing your job well and you're engaging in dialogue with people, you might actually be picking up the phone and having those conversations offline. The other thing that Twitter does is it gives people the opportunity to do retweets. So whereas you might not see it within the place that you were looking, it might be happening all over the internet as well.
So you're saying it's a conversation, but it might be a combination of things. It's direct messages, it's retweets, the conversation is more of a generic word, it's not literal.
It might not actually be happening in the Twitter sandbox. It might be happening in a variety of other places as well.
The other thing I think is interesting is when you tweet something, you seem to be considered an expert just because you tweeted something. I remember one day I tweeted 2 or 3 articles about legal recruiting. I forgot what they were. It was a few months ago. Then I got 2 or 3 emails offline asking me some advice about recruiting lawyers and legal assistants. I thought, gosh, I'm not really an expert. I'm just kind of tweeting stuff. But I guess that brings up a question. Is that a way that recruiters or sources are finding people? Is you go find someone who's tweeting about a topic and you think, oh, there's an expert. They're sharing advice, they're sharing articles, whatever, that's an expert.
I wish it was that easy. I wish you could just tweet one thing and then suddenly people would perceive you as an expert. Yeah. I think, again, with Twitter, there's a lot of different ways that you can build your expertise if that is, in fact, one of the goals that you want to do. So you might create lists. And with Twitter, you can create lists on specific topics. So for us, one might be value propositions and branding. It might be employee engagement in articles. To that end, it might be retention issues. And then people will find interesting things within the people that you follow in those categories and the things that you tweet about that also are within those lists. I think that you can also follow people that are thought leaders and build up sources as well. I will say that there is no doubt about it. Twitter can be a time suck, and it is almost hard. You have to be hard and fast and stick to what you're looking to accomplish because it just takes you down the rabbit hole more than a lot of other social media, I find.
And it's changing, I think, as it grows. And when I first was doing it, or at least midway through Twitter's tenure, I was going back and trying to find I would leave for 20 minutes, I'd come back, and I'd go through every tweet that I received. And a lot of people are doing that. We would go try to find every tweet in the last 20 minutes, just in case, God forbid, we missed one. But now a lot of us have thousands of people we're following, and even with Hootsuite and search terms and keyword searches and filters and groups, it's really hard to keep up now if you have too many tweets coming in.
It depends on what your goal is. I mean, it might be that you're interested in sourcing, in which case you're really more concerned with what is being tweeted and who is, and you're setting up alerts to try and build up your people and your source list, or stalking, or whatever you want to refer to it as.
Yeah.
But I do think that it does become very hard to keep up with all of the conversations that are happening because it is so instantaneous in real time.
Gotcha. Jody, thanks. Let's do this again. We have plenty more we can talk about between now and your conference session in March and after. So thank you, and I will catch you on where else but Twitter.
Great talking to you, Todd. See you soon.
Thanks.